The relationship between Sheikh Hasina, the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, and the Indian government is like a story filled with both deep bonds and underlying tensions. It's a relationship that has brought benefits, stirred controversies, and shaped the fate of both countries in many ways. Let's dive into this story and understand what makes this relationship so important, and sometimes so complicated. The story begins in 1971, a year that changed everything for Bangladesh. At that time, what we now know as Bangladesh was East Pakistan, struggling to break free from West Pakistan. The people of East Pakistan wanted independence, and this desire led to a brutal war. India, led by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, decided to help East Pakistan in its fight for freedom. One of the key people behind India's support was Rameshwar Nath Kao, the chief of India's intelligence agency, RAW. Kao played a crucial role by providing the Bengali freedom fighters, known as the Mukti Bahini, with the intelligence and resources they needed. This support was vital and eventually led to East Pakistan's victory and the birth of Bangladesh on December 16, 1971. During the war, Sheikh Hasina, who was just a young woman at the time, fled to India with her family to escape the violence. Her father, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was the leader of the independence movement. After Bangladesh gained independence, Hasina stayed in India for nearly a decade, until 1981. During this time, she formed strong bonds with Indian leaders and developed a deep appreciation for India's role in her country's creation. When Sheikh Hasina came back to power in 2009, she focused on building a strong relationship with India. Her government worked with India on trade, infrastructure, and security. She took action against groups causing trouble for India from within Bangladesh, which brought the two countries closer. In return, India invested in Bangladesh, helping to build roads, railways, and power plants. Hasina used these projects to show progress under her leadership. However, some people in Bangladesh felt she was getting too close to India, making the country too dependent and potentially risking its independence. The transit agreement between Sheikh Hasina's government and India allowed India to transport goods through Bangladesh to its northeastern states, making it easier and cheaper for India. While Bangladesh gained some benefits, like fees and infrastructure improvements, many felt the deal favored India too much. Critics argued that Hasina should have negotiated better terms, like a fair water-sharing deal for the Teesta River. This agreement sparked resentment, with many believing Hasina was giving India more than Bangladesh was getting in return. Sheikh Hasina's statement, "I have given so much to India, they will never forget," has been one of the most controversial remarks attributed to her, stirring significant debate within Bangladesh. The comparison of the relationship between India and Bangladesh to that of a husband and wife, made by one of Sheikh Hasina's foreign ministers, sparked considerable controversy and debate within Bangladesh. The metaphor was intended to emphasize the close and interdependent relationship between the two neighboring countries. However, it was widely criticized for suggesting an unequal dynamic, with India often perceived as the dominant partner in the relationship. Despite the criticisms, Hasina has gained a lot from her close relationship with India, especially in politics. India's support has been crucial in helping her stay in power, particularly during the controversial elections in 2014, 2019 and 2024. All the elections were surrounded by accusations of vote rigging and opposition boycotts, but with India's backing, Hasina managed to hold on to power. India's support didn't just help Hasina at home, it also gave her an advantage on the international stage. With India by her side, Hasina could push back against criticism from other countries about her government's human rights record and its increasingly authoritarian tendencies. Having a powerful ally like India meant that her government could weather international pressure more easily. Sheikh Hasina has a strong relationship with India, but her political rivals, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, led by Khalida Zia, have had a much rougher time with India. The BNP is more focused on Bangladeshi nationalism and often accuses Hasina of being too close to India, saying she's giving away too much and not protecting Bangladesh's independence. India, in turn, doesn't fully trust the BNP, especially because of its connections with Islamist groups like Jamaat-e-Islami. When the BNP was in power, relations with India were tense and filled with mistrust. The BNP even accused India of interfering in Bangladesh's politics by supporting Hasina and her party during elections. This tension added to the already complicated relationship between Bangladesh and India. In a stunning and emotional turn of events, Bangladesh's former Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, was forced to resign and flee the country, seeking safety in India. This shocking moment came after weeks of intense and violent protests, driven by public anger over a government policy that many felt was unfair. For weeks, the streets of Bangladesh had been filled with angry demonstrators, most of them young people and students. They were furious about the government's controversial job quota system, which reserved a large portion of government jobs for certain groups, leaving others feeling excluded and hopeless. The protests in Bangladesh reached a dramatic climax when thousands stormed Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's residence, overwhelming security forces, setting cars ablaze, and looting the property. The country had never seen such chaos. A UN report revealed over 600 people were killed during the quota protests, intensifying the public's fury. As news spread that Hasina had fled, anger turned to celebration. Protesters climbed tanks and tore down the statue of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, her father and national hero, in a powerful act of defiance. Hasina's 15-year rule ended in flames and rebellion, marking a new and uncertain chapter for Bangladesh.